Hey everybody, Chris here. So after Friday's crypto market flash crash, we ask, why did it happen? And where do we go from here with Bitcoin and Dogecoin? We're going to talk about that in this video. Please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Hit that little notification bell too. You can be notified when my videos come out, as well as when I do live streams. And I was live on Friday afternoon when we saw the big crash. I was trying to process that in real time, and looking back, I think I did a pretty good job while it was happening, trying to analyze where we were going and what was happening. A lot of us were trying to buy on the dips. We were very frustrated with the exchanges. We'll talk about that. Were there signs? Some people looking back now, dissecting what some big moves were happening, that the signs were there, but this big of a crash, maybe not. But let's get into it. Let me show you the charts in the news. I'll show you what I'm looking at. Let me start here looking at the current Dogecoin chart, and we're at 19.3 cents. That's right, 19.3. So this is what we were looking at on Friday with the big crash. Dogecoin down 60%, came all the way down to 9.5 cents. That was an incredible drop. And there were some that dropped even more. I did do a screenshot from my video yesterday here. If you wanted to see what some of the bottoms were for some of these prices. I mean, look at Harmony One. It was down 80% at one point in time. Down 80% in just like 20 minutes, half an hour. Just huge flash crash across the board. Yeah, that's what happened. I mean, this is like $19 billion of liquidation across the board. We were watching that on real time as well as the liquidation was happening. But why, right? Why? Why did it crash here with the wiping out of Bitcoin, Ethereum, market cap, just huge fallback. So we talked about it, right? Donald Trump's sudden 100% China tariff announcement sparks global panic and crypto sell-off. So we knew at 9:30 in the morning on Friday, and we covered this at the first 10 minutes of my live stream yesterday was key to the setup, right? Because we were covering an initial pullback before the big crash. And nobody was predicting this, right? Everyone leading right up till 9:30 on Friday morning was still bullish. We were looking for ETH taking off. We were looking for Bitcoin going up, Dogecoin going up. Now, some were predicting some fallbacks, but not all in one day, not all in one afternoon. So those that were bearish and were predicting pullbacks that were big, yes, there were some of you who did get that right, but you weren't predicting it all in one day, right? Not all in one day. So over $19 billion in leveraged crypto trades liquidated, over 1.6 million traders taken out. And you know, as I've been saying, for the past 10 months, don't trade with leverage. Don't do leverage trading. And I know some of you still want to try it. Maybe some of you are hitting on some leverage trades and you were resetting, doing more leverage trades, and you got taken out. So I get it, right? You learn. But I was always saying, right, if you do leverage trading and you get liquidated, you lose all your coins, right? You go back to zero. So if you're going to leverage trade, I was saying just use a little side piece, a little small percentage of your overall portfolio. Don't put it all in. But again and again, last night and this morning, I'm looking at people who are admitting they had it all in. You were all in on leverage trading and you got wiped out. So there's that, right? Key reasons, right? The sudden U.S.-China tariff shock. So what happened? Right in the afternoon, Trump put out a Truth Social, a tweet about this 100% tariff on Chinese imports, responding to the Chinese basically saying, hey, anything made with our stuff is we're gonna do a big tariff ourselves. And so the tariff wars are back. So here we are with the whole tariff thing. Did people see this coming, though? Did people see this coming? We know we saw Bitcoin go down. Altcoins took much heavier damage. as we were watching that real time, just incredible numbers going down. Yeah, and so the biggest crash since COVID of 2020, and that's just percentage wise, right? Percentage wise, but in terms of the actual liquidations of all of that leverage trading, I mean, back in COVID time, that was only like $1.5 billion. At that time, that was huge. And also the Luna crash, right, was another like $1.5 billion. This was $19 billion, just huge numbers. So we saw the massive liquidations, right? Profit taking. There was some profit taking going on, and some people were predicting they were going to buy back on a dip. There was a lot of that. But what happened on Friday, I mean, I'll get to some of the conspiracy theories in a second, though. But panic selling and cascading stops. People did panic sell. Huge red candles. And you know what I say, right? Sell on the green candles, not the red. But some of you were selling. And we had these cascading stop losses. There's a lot of people who trade and have stop loss levels. So you got taken out. And also leverage traders with stop losses. But what happened, this was happening so fast that the stop losses were adding sells, right? And so between the bid and the ask, right? There was no more asks, right? It was just cascading, selling, and it just got worse and worse and worse, particularly with alts. And as alts were taken out and stop losses were triggered, it was like the opposite of a short squeeze, right? It was a long squeeze on the downside, cascading losses, fear indicator spiking across the board. So there was also low liquidity. So on many exchanges, as the selling was cascading, all of the liquidity was gone. And so you saw the big wick down, right? And you saw this huge wick just coming down so fast because there was no liquidity. Now, eventually people started buying again. We'll get up to the exchanges in a minute. And this did come back up because people were buying, but a lot of people were frozen out of buying as well. So it took a little longer than it should have. But this wick, just the low wick down. And it wasn't just Dogecoin. No, we had the big wick on ETH all the way down to 3,400, right? And Solana, we had a big wick that came all the way down to $168. So it was across the board. And some of them were, I mean, Cardano all the way down to like 28 cents. Just amazing low liquidity across exchanges happened. Marty Party. People, if you think today's event was caused by Trump, you're an idiot. He just comes right out and says it, right? This was a collusion to remove the leverage in the crypto industry using the Trump-China macro catalyst as a narrative. This is just ongoing evidence of the damage caused by the lack of regulation in our asset class, which is technically decoupled from dollar pricing through unregulated entities with the power to manipulate at will at the cost of retail. So there it is. Marty puts it out there. And he's going to continue talking about it next week, and we're going to hear more about it. But that's his take, and you can take it for what it is. Merlin the Trader said, insane. Right before the massive dump, Wintermute moved millions in stablecoins back to Binance. They sell, they buy, they control the chaos. Welcome to crime season. Okay, so we've got all of that happening. We've got a bunch of others that are just, look, someone just opened a Bitcoin short 30 minutes before the Trump tariff announcement and closed with $88 million in profit. It was a new account that had just opened. So some people knew, right? Some people knew what was going on. So all of that is out there, right? And what about the exchanges, right? Outages, Binance, Coinbase, Robinhood. Just people couldn't trade. They couldn't buy. And it just kept going down and down and down. Heavy volatility brings the exchanges to a standstill. Binance posted this. Due to heavy market activity, our systems are under high load. Some users may experience intermittent delays or display issues. We're actively monitoring the situation, working to resolve it. Funds are safe. Thank you for your patience. And on Robinhood, they put out a statement about, too much risk, right? Is Robin really protecting you, though? Or were they just not executing trades? Or was their back end, right, engineering still flawed from back in 2021 where they could not execute the trades? Now, I saw some of you, right, during the live stream saying that your trades were finally going through, but at a higher price than when you placed them, right? You were trying to get 10-cent Doge or 11-cent Doge, finally went through at like 14 cents. I mean, that's a big difference, right, percentage-wise, but overall, market meltdown, right? Billions wiped out. We were looking at the, overall, what the damage was on the collateral, but the collateral damage, but the trader frustration, retail traders vented online as exchanges were frozen during the crash, not letting retail buy low. LOL, you lot are a disgrace. You know exactly what you're doing. So I don't know how much of that is true and how much of it was just really because the volume, such huge volume that they just couldn't execute the trades. Centralized exchanges remain prone to high load stress events, and that we saw. But how much of this was really all of the exchanges, and how much were some of them able to continue to operate? Here's Chris at Crypto.com. Regulators should look into the exchanges that had most liquidations in the last 24 hours and conduct a thorough review of fairness of practices. Any of them slowing down to a halt, effectively not allowing people to trade? Were all the trades priced correctly and in line with indexes? No. The arbitrage was huge between indexes, right? Some exchanges had higher prices, some exchanges had lower prices. We were looking at the differences live as it was happening. It was hard to keep up with that, but we saw it happening in real time. Are there internal trading teams? Are they fully Chinese walled, or were there Chinese and other Asian traders behind a lot of this? Anti-money laundering programs? All of that is in question now. Like $20 billion in liquidations. A lot of users got hurt. Well, I'm not, I don't feel sorry for them because you know what I felt about leverage trading. So I'm more concerned about the honest traders, the honest retail traders that were trying to buy on the dip, that had dry powder ready for such an event. And as the price was going down, you couldn't buy because you were waiting for something like this. You were ready and you couldn't buy. So, but again, that's the difference between retail trading and the institutions and the big boys. They can execute. We can't. I mean, I think Chris is pointing right to Hyperliquid, right? $10 billion alone on Hyperliquid. So half of all of the leverage trading that got wiped out was on Hyperliquid. Totally manipulated. Yes, totally manipulated. Bybit, Binance, OKX, HTX. I mean, they're all guilty, right? But Hyperliquid specifically, and that's who I think Chris is pointing his finger at. The job of regulatory bodies is to protect the consumers, assure market integrity. However, the regulators in the United States, Hyperliquid's worldwide, and you can't regulate that. So we continue to be an asset class that has these huge flaws, and it's going to happen again. It's going to happen again. Mustache says, look, overall, altcoins, the liquidation event was more than 10 times larger than COVID crash or FTX or Luna. Both of those events marked the bottom at the time. Total 2 reclaimed its most important support level in a relatively short period of time. All of this points to a rally going forward. So where are we going from here? Is this just going to rally and spike upwards from here? Is that what we're going to see? Interesting. Satoshi Flipper says, look, the odds have increased now for a rate cut coming later in October to 98%. There's going to be a rate cut. So that's still out there, right? And then we got this thing for Dogecoin. Yesterday, Mario Nawfal, something big is coming on Monday that could shake up the Doge world and all of crypto. Stay tuned, right? Of course, I'm like this. You overhype something like this, and it's just not going to be what you expect it to be. A lot of people are reposting this. A lot of people are giving their own spin on this. And I have no idea, but my caution bells go up. Warning, warning. This is not what you think it's going to be. But we'll see. And we look at, of course, during the live stream, we couldn't even access CoinGlass. It was down. Was that manipulated, right? Or it was just so many people were pounding into this website that they couldn't handle the traffic? I don't know, but it's kind of interesting that this was down. People were trying to figure out what was going on, and were trying to trade, and you couldn't. But here's the heat map, right? Here's the Bitcoin heat map on Binance, and look at all of the leverage trades all the way down. And I know people asked me, right? They were like, Chris, is all of this leverage trading going to go through? And I said, I doubt they're going to be able to get all of this down here. I doubt they're going to be able to get it. Well, they did. And that was, the huge tail coming down, the huge wick, taking out all of that leverage trade. Now, here we have new leverage trading coming in, both short and long, not anywhere big as what there was. You kind of wonder about these big shorts, though, up here. Huge amount. $200 million just right here at 126.5 level. I mean, just huge shorts. So these shorters are winning right now. And a lot of the huge short trades that came in right at, that morning hour, kind of suspect, right? What was going on. So all of that is out there. Let me know in the comments below. We're going to be following this through the weekend. I'm going to be live Sunday evening. I'm not going to have a Saturday live stream, but Sunday evening, we'll talk about how the weekend is closed and what things look like going into Monday trading. We'll cover all of that. Let me know how you feel about this. Again, the exchanges, the conspiracy theories, all of that, because that's all out there. Give the video a like, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. I appreciate the support. We'll see you next time.